Good evening, everybody. I made a couple of videos today, and I've received a comment, and somebody's asked me why don't I do all of the oils and lubricants for the Isuzu Trooper Holden Jackaroo with the 4JX1 engine. So that's what I've done. So before we get started, I have a little disclaimer. Any information in this video is taken from the Isuzu Trooper manual from Isuzu, and other information may be of my opinion only. You should check before following any of the advice from this video. Okay, so where do we start? We start with the brake and manual clutch fluid reservoirs. Right, so I've done a little video on brake fluids, etc., and hydraulic clutch fluid is no different. The recommended hydraulic brake fluid and clutch fluid for the Jackaroo 4JX1 is .3. It's SAE J1703 FMV SS116.3 grade. Now, I can't really say a lot more about it except that I use Penrite .3 ISO 4925 Class 3 US FMV SS number 116.3 brake fluid. I don't have a clutch, so I don't use clutch fluid, but that would be what I would use in the clutch fluid too. Okay, so you've seen a picture of that, you've seen the chart. Engine cooling. So Isuzu recommend a coolant called Havoline XLC Extended Life Coolant 6280. Okay, now you might be able to buy that. It's not very popular, but they also recommend their own make, and I can't find any information on that. But what I use is Penrite Green OEM approved coolant with an 8-year or a 500,000 kilometre drain interval if used and maintained at 50%. Now you mix it with distilled water, and that will the 8 years and 500,000 kilometres is a long interval. That's where they get their extended life from. So that's absolutely fine to use. Now we move on to engine oil. This is a difficult one. Now if you've got a petrol engine, don't listen to this because this is for the 4JX1 diesel. Now on the back of the video I just made, the oil in the 4JX1 must be as per the recommended viscosity. And this is because of the additional oil rail for the injectors to fire. And varying those viscosities may cause the injectors to malfunction, resulting in an engine misfire or cause it not to run at all. Now, on page 37 in section 0B10 there is an oil viscosity chart which I'll show you in a second, which gives both single grade and multi-grade oils for gasoline and multi-grade for diesel. These are based upon external temperatures being experienced. However, in Australia there has been a number of cases where the engine has not run correctly using the 10W30. So the recommendation is to use 5W30 engine oil. I use Penrite HPR 5W40 Extra 10. This oil will work as a 5W30 oil. The extra 10 is an additional zinc to give you more protection for your engine components, etc. Okay, I suggest you go on the Penrite website and look it up. Manual transmission and transfer case. Okay, so if you've got a manual transmission, use the recommended engine oil as per the chart, as this is not affected by the HEUI injection, so you can use that. Also use the same oil for the transfer case as in the transmission, in the case of a manual transmission. Now note, do not use automatic transmission fluid in the transfer case. I use 10W30 engine oil in my transfer case, probably Penrite, whatever I've got. Now this gets a little bit difficult. Now we're going to the front differential. There are different charts in the manual for the auto locking hub model as opposed to the shift on the fly model. I'm not familiar with different dashboards in use in the Jackaroo Trooper, therefore the best method that I know of in determining whether you have shift on the fly is to climb under the car and have a look at the front differential. With regards to the manual locking hubs, any car can have manual locking hubs, my car does, but I fitted them myself, so only certain models had auto locking hubs. I think you'll know if you have automatic locking hubs. So if you look at the passenger side for the right hand drive, or to the left of the car if you're looking through the windscreen, underneath at the differential you should see a mechanism like this one. If you have this, then likely you have shift on the fly. If this mechanism is not there, then you do not have shift on the fly. My car has shift on the fly, my son's does not. My car's a 2000, his is a 99. He has to engage four-wheel drive using the transfer box lever next to the gear lever, where I have a button on the dashboard. That's the difference. The fluids recommended to lubricate the front differential are as follows. Gear oil, okay, manual auto locking hub model gear oil. See the chart. I'll put the chart up now. The shift on the fly model, same gear oil. I'll show you the chart again. Now, what I use is Penrite gear oil 80W90 multigrade with an anti-shudder additive. Now I'm using that. I also use that in the rear differential, and I'll explain why in a second. But the rear differential uses the same gear oil as the auto locking hub model does in the front, and you can use it in the front because you don't have a limited slip diff as in the rear differential. But the rear differential is a bit different because of the limited slip differential, which requires gear oil specifically designed for LSD. In the front it does not matter, but in the rear it stops the LSD from making noises when in use. You need to use the same oil for the front differential as the auto hub model, but with the LSD additive. They're not very specific in the manual. They give you a long list of oils and stuff, but a lot of them are out of date now. The gear oil that I use in the rear differential is the same as in the front, and you'll notice that it says suitable for LSD. Now then, automatic transmission and power steering fluids. Both of these devices use automatic transmission fluid, ATF, and there are several recommended in the manual. Now I wouldn't recommend them because they're 22 years old. I use Penrite. Now let me explain. The reason I use all this Penrite is because I like to use Australian manufactured stuff, and Penrite is an Australian oil. It's been in Australia since 1926. And I use ATFF S001 Penrite ATF full synthetic in both applications, so in both the power steering fluid and in the which goes down into the steering rack, I might add, and in the automatic transmission I use the same fluid. Now there are charts and it's based on I'll put it up on the screen, but it's based on how you drive the car. If you're driving on tarmac all the time, or if you're in the dusty roads, or if you're on rough roads, or if you're doing short journeys, it changes when you need to change these fluids. So I'll bring that up in a minute, and I'll show you that, and then we'll take it from there. So if there's any fluids I've missed, I don't think I need to mention distilled water in batteries. I don't think I need to mention washer fluid. I tell you what I use in washer. I use water and a teaspoon of washing up liquid. Works perfectly. Saves you a lot of money too. I don't think there's any more oils and lubricants in the car that I can think of that is required. So anyway, if you have any questions or you've got any requests, just put them in the comments and I'll get to them, and we'll hopefully do something to help you out. And otherwise, I'll see you out there.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video. And don't forget to subscribe.